Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a really comprehensive report. It's the Global Weather and Hazard Assessment, Forecast and Climate Change Analysis for June 23, 2025.
That's right. And our goal here is basically to pull out the key insights from what's quite a complex analysis. We want to help you understand what's happening with our weather globally and, what it means directly.
Exactly. You'll find some surprising connections, I think, and definitely some critical takeaways about where our planet stands right now. Okay, so let's get into it.
Well, what immediately jumps out is this widespread forecast of above normal temperatures. We're talking pretty much all land areas for June through August 2025.
Right.
And what's really striking is that this is happening even though the El Niño Southern Oscillation, ENSO, is expected to be neutral.
Okay, that is interesting. Usually you think of El Niño driving that kind of widespread warmth, right? So what does it mean if ENSO is neutral, but it's still this hot everywhere?
Precisely. The fact that ENSO isn't giving us that El Niño warming boost or the La Niña cooling effect, it makes this widespread heat, pretty significant. It strongly signals a fundamental shift, maybe towards what some are calling a new normal.
A new normal?
Yeah. It suggests that human-caused climate change isn't just, a background factor anymore. It seems to be actively amplifying things, making these widespread warm conditions almost the default.
So less dependent on those natural cycles like ENSO.
Exactly. It's becoming the baseline expectation rather than something that happens only during certain phases.
Wow. So that really forces a rethink, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How we plan long term.
It absolutely does. It means reevaluating climate adaptation. We're kind of shifting from just prepping for, say, specific heat waves or storms towards managing an environment that's just continuously warmer and probably more volatile. That's the baseline now.
And it's not just temperature, right? The report also mentioned different precipitation patterns.
That's right. Really striking regional contrast there, which points to potential compound hazards. You could have some areas getting hit with worse drought risks while others are looking at, more flash flooding.
Okay, let's dive deeper into some specifics there. One thing that really caught my eye was the mention of these dangerous early season heat waves. What's going on there, particularly in the U.S. and Europe?
Yeah, that's a major focus. So in the central and eastern U.S., right around now, June 20th to 24th, they're forecasting highs pushing past 95, even 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oof.
And critically, the overnight lows, they're staying really high, like 15 to 20 degrees above average, so maybe 75 to 85 Fahrenheit.
Which means no real cooling off at night.
Exactly. No recovery period. And there's an analysis from Climate Central. They use this thing called the Climate Shift Index, the CSI.
Right, I've heard of that. It shows the climate change fingerprint on daily temp.
Pretty much. Their analysis found that human-caused climate change made this specific heat wave at least 3 times more likely for about 174 million people.
3 times.
And for 69 million people, it hit CSI level 5. That means climate change made it at least 5 times more likely for them.
5 times.
There.
Yeah. And you mentioned Europe, too.
Simultaneously, yeah.
Right.
Northern Europe is getting its first heat wave of the season. Temperatures are hitting around 34 Celsius. That's about 93 Fahrenheit in parts of eastern England. And even hotter, up to 38 Celsius, so 100 Fahrenheit, in western and southern France.
Okay. And is there a climate change connection there as well?
There is. A rapid analysis by the World Weather Attribution Group, the WWA, they're scientists who do these quick checks, they found that for southeast England, getting temperatures above 32 Celsius, about 90 Fahrenheit, on a single June day, well, climate change made that 100 times more likely.
Whoa, 100 times.
100 times. It basically transforms what used to be maybe a 1 in 50 year kind of heat wave for that region into something you might expect every 5 years now.
That's just a staggering acceleration.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the timing. The early season aspect. Why is that particularly problematic?
Well, it catches people and systems off guard, doesn't it? Communities might not have fully ramped up cooling centers. Public health messaging isn't maybe in full swing yet. People's bodies aren't acclimatized. It just heightens the vulnerability across the board.
Makes sense. And we're also seeing these heat domes causing other problems, right? This ring of fire effect.
Yes. So you get this big area of stagnant high pressure, the heat dome, causing intense heat underneath it. But around the edges, on the periphery, the weather patterns can trigger severe thunderstorms, flash flooding, hail, that kind of thing.
So you're dealing with extreme heat and severe storms potentially from the same system.
Exactly. It really complicates disaster management, makes it much trickier to respond when you have these multiple, almost contradictory hazards popping up simultaneously. It shows the increasing complexity we're facing.
Okay, so a lot happening atmospherically. But the report also touched on hazards closer to the ground, volcanic activity.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
Just highlighting some ongoing localized activity, nothing globally catastrophic, but you've got volcanoes like Luatobi in Indonesia at level 4 alert and Kanala in the Philippines at level 3.
And those require continuous monitoring.
Absolutely, because eruptions, even smaller ones, can disrupt air travel and obviously pose risks to nearby populations. So, something to keep watching.
And then looking upwards, space weather.
Yeah, a brief mention there, no major geomagnetic storms or solar radiation events expected right on June 23rd, but there is a notable chance, about 55%, for what they call minor to moderate R1, R2 radio blackout.
R1, R2, what does that affect?
Mostly high-frequency radio communications, so think HF radio used by airplanes, especially over polar routes and ships at sea. It's not catastrophic, but it can cause some communication disruptions for those sectors.
Got it. Okay, so pulling all these threads together, what's the big picture from this deep dive?
I think the clearest takeaway is this pervasive global warming signal. It's amplified by climate change, and it's leading to extreme events that are, well, more frequent, more intense, and increasingly complex, often compounding each other.
Right, like the heat dome and the ring of firestorms.
Exactly. And all this just underscores really how urgent the need is for better risk management. We need strategies that are comprehensive, integrated across different hazards, and definitely forward-looking to build resilience.
It seems we really have to get used to adapting to this continuously warmer, more volatile baseline, don't we? Which leads to the final thought for you, our listener. What really stands out to you about the challenge of adapting, not just to occasional extremes, but to this ongoing, shifted reality?
Right.